Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ready, Set, Diversify, week 2. I'm here with Megan, our assistant director. We've both been vaccinated, so that's why we don't have our masks on. We're both, aha! I see someone has joined us. And also, Miss Kalima is here with us as well with her beautiful hair. Hello, Kalima. How are you today?
Great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. We have 2 special guests with us today. We have Martha Brockenbrough. She always says, I used to say Brockenbrough, but then I read you said it's pronounced like broken toe. So I was like, okay, there we go. And we have always late to the party, Pablo Cartaya. I had pulled up your book here. So in case you didn't arrive, I was just going to hold it up like this and say Pablo was with us today.
I've got a new headshot. We gotta update that.
I know. Well,
to update the long hair. It's like it's my pandemic hair.
I like that. Well, Martha was just telling us that she put on lipstick for the first time in a year today. So here we go.
Oh my God. I put on deodorant, so we're good. So now
no smell of it. Like the first time ever for that, though, Pablo.
Well, welcome to Ready, Set, Diversify today. We're here to help parents diversify their kids' bookshelves, which a lot of people can find a challenge, but is really not a challenge. You just have to open your mind and sometimes your pocketbook or just go to the library. So first of all, I want to say that we have 2 diverse authors with us. We have Pablo, who is Cuban, correct? Cuban American?
Yeah, Cuban American.
And we have Martha, who is a woman. So there we go. So anyway, we're going to talk about some recommendations and stuff, but I'd love for y'all to talk about what y'all have been up to lately before we jump in. Pablo, hit it.
Okay. Well, this morning at around 5:30 in the morning, I spoke to a group of students in Sweden about equity in literature.
Oh, wow.
Which, was really great and fascinating. After my 3rd cup of coffee, then I was able to really kind of get going. But yeah. But yeah, no, it was wonderful, and then I led an hour and 30-minute workshop with the kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I think that kudos to the educators who were interested in, first of all, bringing some kid from Miami all the way up to Sweden to talk about, equity in literature. And they picked up my books and they were reading my books and studying the books. And then, they wanted to know questions about, diversity. They wanted to know questions about the disability experience and all that stuff. And then how do they incorporate that into writing, which I thought was really, really great. I always feel like an imposter when I speak to people, and when the lead, she said, Pablo, I want to thank you so much for being so methodical in how you teach. And I said, was I teaching? Okay, great. Cool. I'm glad that yeah, all of that was on purpose. And so, yeah. And then also I'm turning in I'm turning in 2 books in the next 2 weeks. Then I've begun my official National Book Award judge duties. So all of those things really exciting, really fun, and happy to be here.
Well, when you get done judging those books, you're supposed to send them to me to give away. That's what Medina did.
You know what? They are actually being sent electronically now because of COVID.
Oh, well, that's good for you, bad for me.
I know, but whatever books I do get, I will be sure to donate them to you.
Thank you so much. Martha, what are you up to these days?
Well, I'm so delighted to hear what Pablo got to do, and excited about talking of equity and diversity. I've got 2 books coming out this year. One, I can show you the F&Gs. This is the folded and gathered version. I Am an American, the Wong Kim arc story that I wrote with Grace Lin, the incredible, extraordinary genius, and the illustrator Julia Kuo, who has just become one of my absolute favorites. So if you ever wonder why someone born in the United States or its territories gets automatic birthright citizenship, it's because of Wong Kim arc. Now, I know that discrimination against Asian American and Pacific Islanders is very much in the news lately. It's an old American story. And so if you're interested in understanding a bit about our Constitution, understanding some of the fascinating history of Chinese Americans, I Am an American is going to be a good book for you. And I can show you just a couple of the amazing illustrations.
Oh, wow.
It's a totally, totally beautiful book. My second book coming out, and they're coming out on the same day.
Well, happy book birthday to you.
It makes it very convenient. I will just have one cake. It's a novel from Scholastic called Into the Blood Red Woods. And my tagline for it is everything you know about fairy tales is a lie. And this is a book that subverts a lot of traditional fairy tale narratives, is an angry feminist story with lesbian werebears, a sensitive werewolf, and a really super angry musician. Also a forest that speaks in song. So those two books are coming this year. And as I was saying in the green room before, I am just working on a variety of stuff, including about a mathematician who's fun. I also have a book about artificial intelligence coming out. I don't have a date for that yet, but it's coming.
Oh my gosh, y'all are busy. I feel like we're busy, but y'all are busy. Y'all are real busy. And I just want to let everybody know I just want to welcome Kalima because bless Kalima, she had some surgery last week, and look at her. She looks beautiful. If I'd had surgery last week, I wouldn't look that beautiful. So
Hey, meds help.
Great. So Kalima, I guess what you've been up to is healing and begging your dog not to get mad at you since you can't walk him all the time. But so you want to talk a little bit, what did you, let's jump right into some recommendations here. What are you recommending today, Kalima?
Today I am recommending All American Muslim Girl. I don't know can you see it with the glare, but All American Muslim Girl. It's by Nadine Jolie Courtney, and excuse me, it's about a Syrian American Muslim girl. She's in high school, and basically how she and her family are dealing with the climate, with the Islamophobia and all of the anti-Muslim rhetoric in the media, and basically, excuse me, her family. Her parents aren't practicing Muslims, and her father has told her from the time that she was younger that, kind of keep the Muslim thing on the down low, like you don't have to let a lot of people know. And that was, in his mind, his way of protecting her from the Islamophobia and from the harm that can come from the ignorance or fear of people who don't understand what Islam is, or, believe everything they see and hear in the media. So now she's in high school, and she's a lot more aware of the Islamophobia around her, more so than when she was younger, when her parents protected her from a lot. And because she does not look Muslim, she has a very red hair, green eyes. People feel very free to say whatever in front of her because they don't realize that she is Muslim. And as the story goes along, she starts speaking up. She starts, defending her faith. And the more that she finds herself in a position to want to defend her faith, the more she wants to learn more about her faith and start practicing. And she starts wearing her hijab. She does all of this without her father's knowledge because he really wants to protect her, and he doesn't want her to be so obvious with her faith, basically. So she's kind of walking a fine line between, practicing and defending her faith and blending in. She starts dating a boy from her high school whose father just happens to be, a very Islamophobic shock jock, radio talk show kind of person. But the young man is nothing like his father. And, so she's got to balance that line as well. It's a lot. It's a lot for her. And one of the things that she says in the book, I wrote it halfway down and then I put bookmark on it, but that she's always worried that they won't, I'm always worried they won't love me anymore if I'm not perfect. They is my parents, my classmates, my boyfriend, now my Muslim friends too. You know, I want approval, but I'm sick of the contortionist act.
Oh, yeah.
So she's always trying to balance all the different parts of her world and have it be in line with her faith as well. It's a balancing act for sure. I can speak personal experience on that.
Yeah, I bet you can.
Mm-hmm.
So is this a YA novel?
It is a YA novel. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a very good and very relatable read. I really hope my daughters get a chance to read it too.
Now, can I ask you a question? I know that you converted to Islam when you were younger. You weren't raised Muslim. But
No.
were there any books for you about that when you converted or anything like that?
None that I was ever made aware of. None at all. I was 24 when I decided to convert. I had been born and baptized Catholic, and then my mother started going to a Pentecostal church when I was about 10. I went to a Christian private school all the way until high school, and I converted to Islam when I was 24. And yeah,
I guess a book like this would have been very helpful.
It really would have, and that's why I say I hope my daughters get a chance to read it too.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Megan, do you have any recommendations
I
today?
did not do my homework. I'm so bad.
Well, it's a good thing we have so many stacks of books here.
Let's see. Where should we start?
Where should we start? Should I cover up this word? It seems like I don't know whether I should cover up this word.
No, it's a good one.
Shouldn't I'll just we may know what that word is. I'll just put that there. Somehow Meg Medina always makes it into our recommendations. I don't know why that is. Last time we were talking to Wendy Shang and Madeline Rosenberg, and they were saying that they had both Wendy had a Dr. Medina in one of her books, and then Madeline said she had read a book with another Dr. Medina. So we decided that the universe is trying to tell Meg that she should become a physician.
6 degrees of Medina.
6 degrees of Medina. It's always. So I will say that years ago, when the book festival was just getting started, we had a fundraiser, and it was a banned books reading. And Meg had been a friend of mine and helped me out with the book festival from the very beginning. And right before we had the banned books reading, the Yaqui Delgado was banned in the neighboring county from the schools. And it's been banned all over the place.
Because of the word, or like?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people didn't make it any farther than the cover, just the title. And we can, I mean, I feel like I just have this one in front of me, but really because I will tell you a little secret. I already told Martha back in the green room, I walked out of the house without the books I was going to recommend today. Sorry about that. It was a very busy morning, and I walked up. We're in the same boat. I did my homework. I just left it at home. So I really want to talk. I'm just going to sit here and recommend Meg's books. Her whole Mercy Suarez series is gaining steam, and she's got more of those coming out. I tell you, I feel so bad. I left those books at home, including Meg's books. But one of the things that I'm looking for. Kalima's recommending some YA books, which is great, but I'm so excited to see more middle grade and upper elementary school books becoming more diverse. And that's where I feel like Meg is really sort of jumping in and making that happen, because Mercy Suarez is just perfect for, upper elementary and middle school. I wish I had it in front of me so I could show you. But the YA has been coming along for a while, but it is a little bit more difficult I feel there's the picture books that are doing really well with diversity at this point, but it's that sort of upper elementary and middle where I'm really looking to see more happen.
Do you want me to see if I can find my Mercy Suarez, like just run into
go get that thing. So Pablo, I'm laying it on you, man. I'm laying it on you to write some middle grade.
I mean, I've written 3 middle grade books that are like that.
I know. That's why I'm telling you. I know you can do it.
and I know that like Celia Perez writes wonderful middle grade stories on The First Rule of Punk is still one of my favorite all-time middle grade books. And then her latest, Strange Birds, a field guide to ruffling feathers, was awesome. And of course, Meg Medina. Just in the interest of my National Book Award judge duties, I'm not going to speak about any current books out or forthcoming this year, but I love Renee Watson. She's one of the great ones. Evie Zaboy wrote a middle grade book, My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich.
Oh yeah, we have Evie. We have Punching the Air. We don't have My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich here, but we do have Punching the Air.
Yeah, Lamar Giles does some great work.
Yes.
I mean, the thing with me and diversity is that, like, Jumbies. I mean, there's a lot of us writing. They're not all necessarily pain narratives.
Mm-hmm.
Just because my parents are immigrants doesn't mean that I have to have like a sad, tortured existence. There is some sadness in my story, but there's also a lot of joy. I mean, how could we survive if we didn't have some joy, right? And also some fun and nerdiness and quirkiness. I mean, if you read My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich, is it this exploration of human dignity? And no, it's just a fun book. It's a fun book about a Black girl who likes science fiction and dreams of, I mean, that's awesome, right? Lamar's books are fantastic. They're not all.
The Last Mirror on the Left, all that. I love it that you brought up the pain narrative, because I think that for a lot of people, that's what they think of, when they think of diversity in literature completely. And then of course, for children, and it's, who was it who was talking about, it doesn't have to be necessarily about enslavement or basketball. If you're writing stories for young Black boys, for instance, and it doesn't have to. I mean, that's what I'm so excited to see, is that Wendy and I spoke about that last time. The importance of telling the story of where you came from. I know that Wendy takes that really seriously, but also just showing, just having diversity within a story. Or, I mean, it doesn't. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. It doesn't make it less of a story. It makes it more of a story. You don't always have to go through.
I look forward to the day where we can just normalize it all and not have to talk about like, oh, here's this diverse writer talking about diversity again. I mean, they're just shared experiences, human experiences, right? Juanita, you're up in Longwood, and I'm here in Miami. Martha, I'm not sure where you are, but we're all from different places. We all have our different backgrounds. Kalima, we're all shared experiences. We're all gathered together. You can hear about my stuff. I can talk to you about my abuelita all day, and then maybe you tell me about your nana. We just share, and we commune together as humans, and we learn from each other. Today, one of the things that I talked about was like your voice mattering, I think, is an important thing, right? And your voice and how you utilize that voice is important, and you should own it. And that by that virtue, then you should listen and enjoy and appreciate and celebrate other voices as well. So if we're all claiming our voices and we're sharing and listening to each other, I think that that's where we find the real magic of stories, is when we're just like, yeah, let's just have a celebration of stories, from all different walks of life, from all different people, and that to me is what I hope for that normalization one day. Got a lot of work to do, but whatever. Here we are.
Pablo, when you started talking today, you talked about feeling this imposter syndrome, and I think that the world that has tend to empower a certain segment of society is the reason that a lot of us feel like imposters. And that's another reason for including lots of lived experiences in stories. And so that people, realize you're not an imposter, you're fully authentic, you're fully human, fully welcome. And, the world is eager for your presence. Cause I think that that's been one of the failings of children's literature that we are beginning slowly to address.
Yeah.
What do you have to recommend today, Martha?
So many things. Okay, so I talked about Julia Kuo, the illustrator for I Am an American. Here's another book she did, I Dream of Popo, written by the wonderful Livia Blackburn. This is Livia's first picture book. This is a story about a girl who misses her grandmother, and it's absolutely beautiful. And, you know, one that, given the time that we are in, where lots and lots of families are separated because of the pandemic, this is a really perfect and beautiful read. And it's just such a gorgeous book. I absolutely love it. Another picture book, and this would be, I think, one great for a slightly older emerging reader, The People's Painter, How Ben Shahn Fought for Justice with Art. And this is by Cynthia Levinson and Evan Turk. Ben Shahn was a Jewish boy born in Lithuania. His tale is an immigrant narrative, and also one how he really created art as advocacy rather than as still life or decoration. And it's just absolutely beautifully written, and the illustrations are totally, totally captivating. I mean, it's a beautiful work of art, and with Jewish representation that is, you know, so rare and so welcome. I whipped the Jumbies off of my shelf. There's sequels to the Jumbies. Tracy Batiste is a really extraordinary writer, and this is just a ripping read. And Caribbean folklore, mermaids, and also there's going to be a Jumbies picture book. So if you get into the Jumbies, I hope I'm not stealing Tracy's thunder there. Sorry, Trace. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of the Jumbies.
I'm going to jump in right there real quick with the Jumbies, because I have wanted my kids to read the Jumbies for some time, but they're a little skittish about scary things. And so I was told that maybe it might be a little much for them. But then 2 weeks ago, we sat down and they watched Ghostbusters for the first time, and they made it through. So I'm thinking maybe they can do it, because I'll tell you, I told my kids, I said, now, when I was little, I said, Ghostbusters came out when I was little, and we went to the movie theater. And the second, I hope people have seen it, because I'm going to give something away. The second that skeleton taxi driver turns around in the cab, I was like, Mom, we're out. And we left the theater. And my kids were like, you did? That's not even scary. So maybe they're ready for the Jumbies. I'm hoping so, because they're sitting on my shelf at home.
I was a totally delicate person. So when I came of age, I was in my 20s when the X-Files was on TV, and it was too scary for me to watch. My children think that's hilarious, but some of us are just more sensitive. Okay. Middle grade readers, It Doesn't Take a Genius by Olubemistola Rude Perkovich. She is a really wonderful writer. And Pablo, you were talking about not all stories are pain narratives. Here's this kid. He's an incredibly smart boy who goes to camp. He's lost the protection of his wonderful older brother. And so he has to kind of find a way to make a new set of friends and use his intellectual prowess for good. And so I love seeing that. I love Bemi. She's a great writer, does fiction, does nonfiction. And she just has a way of capturing really winsome and appealing characters. So that's a great book. And then I also brought a young adult novel. So I'm super interested in the history of Chinese Americans for obvious reasons. And this is a novel, Last Night at the Telegraph Club. So historical novel set in the Bay Area, the Chinese American protagonist girl, and there's girl on girl love, which I really, really like. And Melinda Lowe is totally extraordinary writer. And so I thought that, maybe people who haven't discovered her can go back and then read her backlist. You will be super glad you did.
I am so glad Martha has so much to recommend since I've forgotten my books today. That's awesome. I love everything I'm going to go out and get these myself.
I was just thinking the same thing. My oldest daughter is going to love so many of these books.
This and you know, this is what, you know, one of the things that's so great about, I mean, honestly, we can all as adults read picture books and middle grade and YA, but like YA is just, I mean, for parents, it's like it's written for us too, because we're so close to that experience of being adolescents in love.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to think about our show of being an adolescent in love. Luckily, my kids are still so young that they just think it's gross. So that's
my daughter's 14. So
mine's gonna turn. I have one who's 17 and one who's gonna turn 21, which is really wild.
No, I'm so happy that mine are in this. I mean, my oldest is 11, so I'm sort of on tender hooks waiting, but he still thinks it's all gross. I don't know whether he's faking the grossness now. I get that feeling.
He probably is, because my son is 10 and he's definitely like, ew, that's gross. Doing that thing. And he does the ew, that's gross in front of my wife.
Oh gosh. Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
Whoops, sorry about that. Sorry.
You were being too gross.
Yeah, you're being too gross. That's gross. Oh gosh. Well, Kalima has young kids and older kids, so she probably that's a whole nother program about like what to read with your kids as they grow up a little bit. I'm just like, Judy Blume, please take this, Judy Blume. All of it.
All of it. All the Judy Blume. I know my 14-year-old Martha will love the book that you were referring to with the werewolves.
Oh, the werewolves.
And yes, that is right up my 14-year-old's alley. That is totally her.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I will make sure then that she gets a copy.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to know what y'all's kids are reading.
Well, my 14-year-old's reading It right now.
Oh, cool.
My 14-year-old just went through a Stephen King phase too. She's still in it, actually.
So she's been in theater and acting since she was about 6. She's an actor, and then once the pandemic shut everything down, and we were sort of quarantined, she asked me, she goes, what screenwriting software should I use? And I said, use Final Draft. And she goes, can you buy it for me, please?
That's a big purchase.
I was like, sure. Yeah, of course. She was interested in writing. I was like, okay. And I gave her some tips about basic structure of screenwriting. And in a year, she's written 2 full-length screenplays and developed a TV show.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And then she gets so upset when she's like, oh God, I haven't written today. I have to write. And I was like, yeah, me too. I haven't written either. I got it. Let's go to I'm there like sipping on my wine. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, you're right, honey. Let's, but she's so into it. But then she's also reading a lot, which is really cool. And then my little one, my 2-year-old, that's my little Tuscan baby. Because my wife and I went to Tuscany about 2.5 years ago, and then came back with a stowaway. I
remember all this was happening when you were here.
Yes. And Paloma was born, and she's a firecracker and awesome, and she's developed this thing of saying, like, she goes, no touching. I was like, all right, I love it. Let's do it, And she's really into like all kinds of picture books. She loves Spike Lee wrote a picture book with Kadir Nelson. Mm-hmm. Please, baby, baby, please. She can't get enough of that book.
Oh, fun.
So it's dope. So we're in the bath, like, and she's reading the book, like while she's taking a bath. So it's all like all wet and soggy, but it's awesome. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Martha, what are your kids reading? Do you know?
I usually know. My 17-year-old, I just gave her a stack of Jeff Zentner books because I wanted her to have to cry. Just like how do you stick it to your kid? Give him a book that'll give him the weepies. And my older daughter, she just came home from a thrift store with a big fat occult book. So she's she's into witches and stuff. But she also likes Stephen King. She has dyslexia, and very many of her books are consumed via audiobooks.
My daughter too.
That's so interesting, Pablo, because my 21-year-old did lots of performance and acting and writes songs and does digital art. And so, all of these dyslexic kids, very often there's extreme creativity there. And if only that can be celebrated by their teachers and by parents, because, these kids work so much harder to access texts and to do their schoolwork. And so I have nothing but respect, and I am continually impressed by the intellectual firepower that these kids have. And so often they feel dumb.
1000%.
Yeah.
My daughter has inattentive type ADHD and really fought through that. I mean, I literally wrote my last book is dedicated to her and to her own neurodiversity. I mean, the main character, has inattentive type ADHD, and it's that sort of feeling of like, I'm not dumb. And that struggle, that it's less a struggle of their own abilities, and rather the struggle of like trying to prove that like I am a lot more than what you are making of me. And so, that's really fascinating. And Penelope also does she reads and listens to the audiobook at the same time.
Oh, wow. At the same time. Wow.
Yeah.
Tries to learn, Pablo, that dyslexia and ADHD are very often paired with each other. I didn't know that. And that's, I suppose it makes sense, but my daughter's in college. She's been doing it online. And because she does not have to contain herself to, fit into the social expectations, she's gotten the best grades of her life. And this makes me think, like, for parents of kids with learning disabilities, the more you can just support them exactly who they are and exactly where they are, the better they're going to do. And, part of that supporting is making sure that they have books like Pablo's where the kids can see that this is normal. My daughter diagnosed herself with dyslexia by reading one of the Hank Zipser books. She's like, that's me. That's what happens to me. Because the Hank Zipser books by Lynn Oliver and Henry Winkler are about a boy with dyslexia. And she's like, that is my experience. And so that was when we were able to intervene, because she was able to fake it pretty well and as an actress. And so anyway, just, these kids are great just as they are. And it's not a failing and it's not a less than, and the world needs to expand to accommodate. That's my soapbox.
I will say about the dyslexia, I was on a website the other day, and it had an accessibility button down at the bottom. And so when you clicked it, it gave you all these different ways that you could interact with the website if you needed some more accessibility. And it had one for dyslexia. And so I clicked on it, and all of the characters changed, and they were different sizes and all this sort of thing. And it makes me wonder I don't know why books aren't published like that. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I'm not dyslexic, but if it really is, the switching of letters or, interpositioning or, something like that, I know that, if they've got large print books for people who are older, I remember you remember those Reader's Digest books with the really large print and things like that. I don't know why they don't print them with this font that I saw. I wonder if it really works. I don't know.
So it depends. Like, dyslexia is a spectrum. There's not like, this is dyslexia. It is, so different people have different variations of it. As I understand it, the reason those typefaces work is because they switch the widths of certain portions of them so that the letter, you're less likely to transpose or invert the letters. A lot of people just don't understand that. It's like people who are not colorblind don't understand. It's like, why can't you distinguish these things? Do you remember those posters at malls in the 90s where if you stared at them, they suddenly made a picture?
The Dave Matthews album cover, never could see what was on it. Never been able to do it.
You have astigmatism, probably.
I do have astigmatism.
So people, like, I do too. And so we cannot ever see those images. I'm not going
to. Why? Darn.
we'll
I
never
felt really out of it in
I
the
always get
90s.
headaches.
And so anyway, it's just a matter of understanding. And if we can understand, let's just open the doors wide enough for all of us. I get how designers want to have typefaces that convey moods and tones. And it's like, okay, but can those also be adjusted to make for accessibility? And so I think that's great. And the more we talk about it, the better it is. I mean, I used to work for a game company. And I noticed that some of their pieces were different colors, but were the same shape. So someone with color blindness would not be able to distinguish them. And just like change the shape of the pieces so that there's another way for people who cannot see that to engage in the game.
My husband is super colorblind. He wanted to be here today, Pablo, but he went to get some cortisone in his foot. He was mad.
I'm a little upset, but we'll get over it. I hope he's okay.
He'll be all right. But he was even going to pull over on the side of the road so he could get on here with you because he was really bummed.
I know. Well, I hope he's okay. You tell him I miss him.
I'll tell him.
That's my boo.
I know. No, but he's so colorblind, and you can get on him next time. We had this blanket, and it was gray, and he swore up and down that it was green, and I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, and I looked at those colorblind glasses, and they're super expensive. I don't know if y'all have seen those colorblind glasses. Wow. I was like, you're just going to have to live with it because I can't afford that.
And I will say something just to like continue on Martha's point too, is, audiobooks is not cheating. Okay. And I want whoever's listening out there who's thinking, if you have a kid that is maybe struggling to read or whatever. I mean, I definitely would encourage audiobooks. It's like, we're talking about soapboxes. This is like my
somebody with a shot in his foot is getting ready to come in. Hold on. All right, keep talking, Pablo.
I am saying that, I'm such an advocate for audiobooks, for graphic novels, for whatever a kid or a reader in general, oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Hold on.
Everybody say hello to Matthew McWilliams.
Hey, everyone.
Dude.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Listen, look, I grew out my hair, man.
Oh, it looks great. You look like more of a children's book author now.
Yeah. I don't have like that cool Jeff Setner tattoos, but
This is why people tune in. This is why people tune in right here to watch us make mistakes and to have these weird conversations. I will say, so Pablo, you were just talking about the tattoos. I will say, Martha, I will get back to what Pablo was saying in a second, but Martha told me, I told her she looked so good. And she said she worked out this morning. She showed me your guns. Show me your guns there, Martha. There you go. That's right. See, this is what happens. This is why people tune in.
That's right.
All right, going back to audiobooks, Pablo.
So I'm just saying, it's like graphic novels, audiobooks, like none of that is cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like you connect with literature. You let people connect with literature in the way that's accessible to them. I did the writing workshop today in Sweden, and there was this young kid. He comes in, and I did the writing exercise, and he came up and he just showed me a picture that he drew during the writing exercise. He's like, I didn't write anything. I go, what do you mean? Who is that? And he gave me this description of who this character was, and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, that's a story, man. So just draw the story. He's like, really? I can do that? I'm like, yes, you can. The idea that literature is confined to just words and a page is, we got to break that archaic way of thinking about literature. It's like, whatever accessible point that any reader can get to literature in the story form, just let them get to it. So, all of Martha's great recommendations, I'm sure that many of them are in audiobook form. If your kid doesn't like to read, and maybe Melinda's book is of interest to you, check it out if it's an audiobook. Like go and see, or like, any way that you can access. Maybe your kid doesn't like to read, and you get Tracy's book and it comes out into a picture book form, show them the picture book, right? And just like give them accessible points to literature. I think that's the real key that we're hopefully striving towards with recommendations of books, I
wish we had talked about this the whole time. This is really important to talk about. I remember. So it was 2019, and at the book festival, and Catherine Patterson had come, and it was I know, I can't even.
I remember Pablo's face.
I was just crying. So I've told this story a million times. I'll tell it again. So she arrived during our keynote event, and one of our volunteers had picked her up at the airport and had driven her. So she walked into the room, and you have a great picture with her, Pablo. We have a great picture of the two of y'all together. And so she walked in the door, and I see her, and I started crying, and she looked at me, she said, "Oh no, we're not doing that." And I was like, I hate to tell you, but yes, we are.
Well, she's amazing, and it was a great talk. And she was just so wonderful. My story about that is that my session was at the same time as hers in the morning, and there was like 160 RSVPs to my session, and then all of a sudden people were like, wait, Catherine Patterson's speaking now, and they all went,
oh, no.
and they all took off, and the team that was there, they were like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I was like, dude, it's Catherine Patterson, man. What am I gonna do? I can't compete with that. I just kind of threw my hands up in the air. I was like, whatever. The next session was full, but I was just like, all right, you just gotta,
Oh gosh. But she came at the book signing. This girl came through, and she was British, and she was blind, and she had Bridge to Terabithia in Braille with her.
Oh, cool.
And Catherine had never seen a copy of her books in Braille before. And we talked about it a little bit. And apparently in England, it's the law that every book that's published also has to be printed in Braille, and it has to be made available for the same price as the regular printed book.
Wow, that's
which
awesome.
is what her family had said that was not the case here in America. And that so very often they would try to order books from England instead, because they were so much more affordable than Braille books.
And that goes back to what I'm saying. Why isn't it more accessible? Like that's another access point to literature, and like how many kids, that have trouble, or that use Braille as a form of reading, how many kids are missing out on that experience, right? Because we don't make it accessible to them.
Right. Oh gosh, we were going to go for a half hour, and it's been almost 45 minutes.
All right.
I want to tell one quick Catherine Patterson.
Yeah.
Pablo and I are both VCFA people, Vermont College of Fine Arts, and Catherine, of course, is the legend of the place. And she was attending a lecture, and afterwards she said, I've solved the problem in chapter 3. So here's a woman in her 80s continuing to learn and grow and solve problems. And if that's not a life well lived, I don't know what it is. So she's wonderful.
I can say, I can tell you that I know she's fully vaccinated. So way to go, Catherine Patterson. Now she can get back out there. I'm so glad.
I got my first shot the other day.
You did?
I did.
Very good. How about you, Martha?
I shot number 2. I'm done.
Awesome.
Yep.
Nice.
And Kalima, you're done.
I'm done.
And I'm done.
Yep.
So
I got my first.
You gotta catch up, Pablo.
Well, I mean, they opened it up, and I tried.
You did good. I'm glad you got your first.
I tried, and then I got my appointment. I was like, all right, let's go.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm so glad. Does anybody have anything they want to say to wrap up? I wish we had talked about the accessibility from the beginning.
Another day.
Talk about it.
Another day. Well,
or Juanita, you can put Martha, Kalima, and I on a talk together at the festival.
Could do that. You know what? That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Panel.
Yeah, since you and I never get to see anything. That'd be well, Kalima's usually running around like a maniac too. I'm sure she'd be glad to have a chance to sit down and take a break. Oh gosh.
I'm totally down.
I am hoping this year the book festival is going to be hybrid. We're going to have reverse field trips where some authors come and then go out to schools, and then we'll have a family day with mostly outside things. This is until kids can get vaccinated. I know that a lot of schools aren't planning field trips until kids can get vaccinated. So we're working toward it. So if it doesn't happen to have y'all here this year, I'm hoping 2022 will be the year. Love you both.
I'll have 3 books out, so for sure.
That dog. Well, the way y'all are rolling, I mean, we wouldn't need anybody else. Y'all got so many books coming out. I don't even know what to do. Just the 2 of you. Oh gosh, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. I miss seeing you.
Yeah, I know. You tell Matt I love him.
Well, if you can hang on for
him.
1 second, if you hang on for 1 second after we end the broadcast, then you can have a chit chat.
All right, Martha, it was so wonderful to see you.
Good to see you again.
All right, Kalima, thank you.
Kalima, go rest.
I am going to right now because I'm done.
Oh, love you, honey. All right,
Love
bye
you guys
everybody.
too.
We'll see you next time. Oh, I sound like
Bye-bye.
LeVar Burton. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.